Good afternoon. Thank you all for attending today's webinar. My name is Eric Bach and I work in NEI's Geospatial Support and Training Department. Today's webinar topic is making asset and utility mapping easy with real-time corrections. Today's presenter is Alex New. Alex works in Trimble's Advanced Positioning Group as a sales engineer. Some things Alex will be covering today are the benefits of satellite-delivered RTX corrections relating to asset and utility mapping, when the right time to use the Fieldpoint RTX, and the differences between RTX and Trimble VRS. We will be recording the webinar and make this available to you all. Also, if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the question box on the right side of the GoToWebinar, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So with that, I will hand this over to Alex, and we'll start the presentation.
Thanks, Eric. So my name is Alex New. I'm sales engineer with Trimble Advanced Positioning. Thank you all for joining and taking the time to attend this webinar this afternoon. And like Eric said, we are going to be talking about how real-time corrections, in particular Trimble Fieldpoint RTX, can help asset and utility mapping and basically make it easy. So with that said, just going to spend a couple of slides going over a little bit of what you guys probably are already familiar with in terms of correction services and just GPS. So the first correction service here we have is real-time corrections are just really autonomous GNSS. Which is unaided or uncorrected positions from satellites as is from a single receiver. As most of you know, this kind of positioning is probably the worst accuracy you can get. We're talking in tens of meters here, so nothing new here. The next one we have is SBAS, or in particular for the US, WASP. So this is a GPS-only kind of correction service that delivers sub-meter accuracy. Followed now we have single base, as well as network RTK services such as VRS, which deliver anywhere from centimeter level to meter level accuracy. So here's a summary slide where you see we have SBAS, you have your single base, and you have your VRS RTK. Today's presentation and webinar is really focused on a new technology, RTX, and in particular Fieldpoint RTX, where you can achieve sub-foot accuracy. What is RTX? RTX stands for Real-Time Extended. It is a true global positioning technology, and it's a multi-GNSS positioning system. Now, it differs from RTK in that it uses ground stations across the world, whereas RTK networks require really dense, localized networks. In this slide here, you can see where our coverage for RTX. So for satellite coverage, it's on the left, and then for RTX over IP, it's on the right. So what are the key differences between RTX and RTK? So the first notable difference is RTX is a PPP technology, or precise point position. It gives absolute position derived from real-time precise satellite clocks and orbits, or i.e., think of it as you know exactly where the satellites are and you're getting your positions from those satellites, as opposed to RTK, where you are basing your position and corrections from known ground-based stations. So think of it as an inverse. Again, RTX is a global application. You don't require a really dense array of ground-based stations. RTK, on the other hand, does require a really close nearby station or dense network to achieve centimeter level accuracies. So most of you guys probably also know RTX does require a little longer convergence time to get down to suitable accuracies than RTK, but with time and technology improving, this is changing. This slide here shows kind of how our RTX services work. So of course we have our GNSS satellites, and then we have a global tracking station, a network of global stations, that all feed into a RTX control center. And then from here, we deliver it to one of two ways to get to the user. We have a satellite uplink sensor and then we have an IP broadcast. So with the satellite mode, it just uploads all the corrections up to a L-band communications satellite that's geosynchronous. And that delivers it back down to the user via L-band. And of course, on the other hand, we have the IP, which is through cellular broadcast. Here's a map of all our stations for RTX. So there's about 120 some stations around the world. Now you compare that with like a local VRS network, which has anywhere from 60 to 70 in one state alone. You can see the significant contrast between the density of the network stations. Again, global application versus a local application. Now we're moving into a section really discussing the benefits of, in particular, Fieldpoint RTX for asset and utility mapping. So for satellite-delivered Fieldpoint RTX, the easiest thing first is you can work in remote areas without having to set up a base station. You can also work in areas where there are poor cellular coverage. So in areas where there's open sky, and such as like in swamplands or where a lot of distribution pipelines are, you can easily get RTX corrections delivered to you without the need of cellular or a local base station. RTX is also versatile. So in areas, and here's a caveat here, guys. RTX doesn't violate any of the standard GNSS fundamentals. So if you're in canopied areas or heavily urban areas, you're still not going to get great results. But if you're in areas where you're getting good residuals, and it just happens that there's something blocking the L-band satellites, you can switch over to IP. For example, if you have a good urban area that has good cellular coverage, IP is also available, or vice versa. So you can use IP or satellite depending on your area. One big advantage also is it streamlines workflows. So with RTX, you get real-time feedback rather than going and collecting data, going back to the office post-processing and finding out, oh, the data you collected was incorrect. So right here, you can get real-time feedback with RTX. It also makes the job easier for field guys. So field guys can literally just turn on the receiver, they let it converge to an appropriate accuracy, and they can start to work right away. Whereas in RTK networks, you have to manage your username and passwords, you have to make sure that no one else is using them, you have to make sure your cellular is on. But for RTX satellite-based delivered services, you don't have to worry about any of that. And of course, you eliminate the need for post-processing. So another benefit we have is for jobs that go across state borders or areas that are just large job fields, you don't actually have to worry about getting different access codes to different vendors. So again, going back to VRS or any kind of RTK networks, there's multiple vendors out here. You don't have to worry about getting a username and password from this vendor A and then getting another username and password from vendor B across the state. With RTX, you work across all the state borders, and it's consistent with the same data. And you can also expect sub-foot accuracy in anywhere you work for RTX Fieldpoint, and you can get full convergence in less than 15 minutes. Now, convergence is when you get down to the sub-foot accuracy level. Now, once you hit that convergence level, you don't have to wait again, provided you have a constant connection to the satellite-delivered RTX service or IP. Once you converge one time, you're good to go for the rest of your job. RTX also, again, supports multi-constellations. So, for example, WASP, comparing that to SBAS and WASP, which is GPS only, RTX has GLONASS capabilities, and for Europe, and we have QZSS and Beidou. So, when is the right time to use RTX? Again, a summary here. RTX is good for any areas where there's good open sky, where there's no cellular infrastructure, also where there's no VRS or RTK networks. Now, again, it's technology. So if you're in heavily canopied areas, you can expect that even if you get RTX or the corrections, it's not going to be good correction sources. So again, GNSS fundamentals do need to be applied in this case. So I'm going to pass it back to Eric here. Just going to introduce you to a promotion that's being launched right now by NEI and Trimble.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So NEI is always looking for newer technology and services that help out our customers. And, when the R2 was released, it's a good fit for the Fieldpoint RTX. So NEI worked with Trimble in the Advanced Positioning Group and came up with this this bundle here. So we have the Trimble R2 subfoot rover that is bundled with the Fieldpoint RTX for 1 year service for a list price of $5,995, about $1,000 in savings. This is good through September 30th of this year. We also have a free week demo, Fieldpoint RTX demo. If you already have an existing Trimble R2, you can email Bernard Lemoyne or myself. You'll need a Trimble RTX capable receiver, so R2, R1, Geo7X, and if you just email us the receiver model number and serial number, we can get that set up for you. For our NEI sales team, most of you may already know your salesperson for NEI, but if you don't, here it is. You can reach out to me as well for any support issues or sales issues, and then if needed, I can always reach out to Alex's group at Trimble. They're always on top of it and answer us really quickly. So we should have you covered in all those areas.
Yeah, so we're now going to open it up to some questions. So if anyone has any questions out there about the technology, the service, the promotion, we actually have our Trimble or Advanced Positioning marketing team here, along with myself here, ready to answer any kind of questions that you guys may have.
The only question I had was, I understand the horizontal accuracy, but how well does it do on the vertical?
Typically for RTX, and again, it's like for RTK as well, it's typically twice the horizontal. So for Fieldpoint RTX, it's probably looking somewhere about 20 centimeters.
Thanks, Carl. I have another question here. This is from Zach. It says, will this work with the Geo XH receivers? So Zach, typically it's the Geo 7X. I'm not positive on the Geo 6000. Is it available on the 6000 via IP?
This is Drew Chamberlain, product manager for our division here in GIS.
Yeah, you were right. It's only the Geo 7 supports RTX. They're available via strictly IP on the Geo 7, but the 6000 doesn't support it.
All right, Zach. We hope that answers your question. Let's see if we got any others here. And then I got one more question here that came in. It says, is RTX a yearly subscription or a one-time fee? This is from Zach.
So it is a yearly subscription. There's no activation fee, but it is a yearly subscription to get to use it.
I don't see any others at this time, Alex. But if y'all have any questions, you can feel free to email myself or Bernie, and we can pass that along. And we'll also put together a little Q&A or frequently asked questions that we'll send out as well at the end of this.
And just to, again, add, guys, if you guys are interested in just trying it out first, we can certainly arrange for you to have a 1-week demo to try out Fieldpoint and all it has to offer. If there's any kind of concern, I know RTX is a fairly new technology in the geospatial realm and mapping realm. So if there's any questions, I'd encourage you guys to please do call your local NEI rep, and then you can call us in directly as well. We'd love to provide more information, and of course, if you need a demo, we can facilitate having a demonstration at your office or in your area just to show you how it works and all it can bring.
We have a few customers currently using the R2 with RTX, and they're willing to give, if you wanted to talk to them about how the workflow is going with them, we can put you in contact with a few of those customers currently using R2 with Fieldpoint. And then if you have questions on costs, you can definitely reach out to the sales team, and they'll be able to answer that as well. All right. I think that's about it. If I get any others, we will definitely put that in the FAQ and send those out as well.
Okay. Well, again,
right,
thanks everyone for attending. Really appreciate your time here. Again, any questions, please do reach out to us.
All right. Thank you all.